What's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and we have a video here with the new leader in town, Iden Versio. So she has an action. If an enemy unit was defeated this phase, heal 1 damage from your base, and she deploys on 6 resources as a 4/4 shielded with that heal ability as a passive. So today I'm going to be going up against Drell here, playing Boba Fett with Tarkentown, kind of a classic. My opponent leads off with a Death Star Stormtrooper, 1 cost 3/1. I'm going to play a Scout Bike Pursuer, 2 cost 1/4 with Grit. Actually, quite a good match against that Stormtrooper, though I think if I do end up taking that trade, I'll be removed by Tarkentown. Opponent takes the initiative. I will pass, draw 2. Another Scout Bike Pursuer we see as a potential move. Could also, this Snowtrooper Lieutenant could come in handy later. Tie advanced. Question is really what I want to resource here, so I think we're going to resource this open fire, see how this goes. Could also have resourced the forced choke, though. Interesting call. Interesting call there. I guess we're going to count down. Stormtrooper swings in for 3. I'll have the Scout Bike Pursuer remove the Stormtrooper, taking 3 himself, but this actually just activates his grit, giving him... So this guy is now effectively a 4/1, honestly pretty solid. Tarkentown could, of course, be used to just get him off the board immediately, though. But if my opponent ends up having to use their base this early, it could be good for me. Looking at my resources here, I do think I probably should have kept the open fire instead of the forced choke. Tarkentown used. Scout Bike Pursuer off the board. I'm going to use Iden Versio's ability to heal 1 damage from my base. If an enemy unit was defeated this phase, heal 1 damage from your base. And my opponent's going to spend 3 for Boba Disintegrator. Well, in that case, I am probably happy that I have this forced choke that I can use to just clear him out. I could also deploy another... Yeah, I'll deploy another Scout Bike Pursuer, though. Just try to develop the board a little bit. Opponent takes the initiative. I'm going to pass, draw up. Another forced choke, okay. I guess I'll probably resource one of these. So I think we might, under normal circumstances, I might want to go for the Fallen Lightsaber. The problem is this is a cunning deck, so there is a chance of a waylay to counter me in that case. One thing that I might just do here, though, is I could do Forced Choke. I could do Snowtrooper Lieutenant into the Scout Biker to hit Boba for 3 and then defeat him with Tarkentown. But that will depend on what we see here. Oh, it's a Forced Choke from my opponent. Removing the Scout Biker, and I'll draw a card. And might be a bit of a silly turn here because we're gonna just do the same thing right back. Get Boba off the field. 7th Fleet Defender. I'm going to play a Regional Governor here. And the question is, what card do I want to name? So on 5 resources, this is a red Boba, so Overwhelming Barrage isn't a factor. Or probably isn't a factor. The main thing, so I have to worry about Relentless Fire. Let's just say Fet's Fire Spray. That's a strong card for Boba. A good chance that we'll see it at some point. Opponent takes the initiative. Iden's ability will heal another damage from my base. And I will pass, draw up. So overall, this isn't going too bad. Sure. I'm going to resource my Tie Advanced here because it matches up unfavorably with that with the 7th Fleet Defender. Now, Boba will be able to deploy this turn, which is not what I most want to see, because I am not entirely prepared for that. But Iden will be able to show up the turn after, and maybe she'll get some results. Seventh Fleet Defender swings on in for, oops, 3 damage. So I could play a takedown to clear that defender. I could play this Fallen Lightsaber or Entrenched to buff my governor, potentially allowing me to do some damage when, if and when Boba makes his appearance. I think we're going to go with the Entrenched on the governor. So that's going to just make her nice and tough and hopefully get into a good spot. Opponent used a no good to me dead on the regional governor. Interesting play. Makes me wonder if there's another exhaust card in hand because that's a pretty odd way to. It's a pretty odd way to deal with a less important character when your opponent's leader deploys next round. So it makes me wonder if there's another exhaust effect waiting for me. Under the circumstances, though, I'm just going to take the initiative. We'll probably see Boba deploy here, and let's see what else is on the table for this turn. I'm going to, for my part, deploy Iden, and I'd like to give her that fallen lightsaber. I'm a little worried she'll just be exhausted, but we'll have to see. Hmm. Fallen lightsaber for my opponent's Boba, not great for me. That's some big damage to the base. Really do need to stabilize fast now. These cards are not what I need for that. Okay, so if I do Snowtrooper Lieutenant into Boba with Iden, um, then I can play the takedown to kill him. And that's going to have to be my game plan. A little late for the scout bag. Okay, so we're going to Governor is not relevant. We're going to lead off by deploying Iden, and Iden, when she deploys, shielded. When he deploys later, give her a shield token. And when an enemy unit is defeated, heal 1 damage from your base. So if I do manage to get Boba off the field, then I will be able to heal a little bit at least. And one good thing about Iden is that in this situation, most leaders would just be dead. Boba immediately attacks and kills them, but Iden's shielded protects her. Boba goes for a surprise strike on the base for 10 damage. And I am now very close to dead. I am going to be able to kill Boba this turn, but I don't know if it's enough. Yeah, I have to kill Boba. Yeah, it's looking like this one's going to be a loss, but we will Snowtrooper Lieutenant Iden into Boba. Iden loses her shield, but inflicts 6 damage. We can then follow up with the takedown, kill Boba, and heal 1. The problem is the 7th Fleet Defender is going to be able to push too much damage to the base, I think. So ultimately, not going to be a win for me. But we'll see what happens. My opponent could misplay this. Sadly, it doesn't. So just taking the initiative there would be a big misplay. Takedown on Boba. Iden heals the base for 1, but it's not going to be enough. All my opponent has to do here is take the initiative, and the 7th Fleet Defender will be able to swing on in there and close the game. And even if he plays a card, I'll have to have a good draw to stay in this one. Nope, just takes the initiative, and then so I'll pass. We'll see if the opponent messes up, but I think it's pretty over. Yep, and there's the 7th Fleet Defender, and just gonna close the game there. So in that situation, I was able to deal with Boba and start gaining control of the game, but I had taken too much damage thanks to the fallen lightsaber and surprise strike on that Boba Fett. The extra damage inflicted there um, managed to get him to the point where he was able to push enough damage to the base that even though I was taking control of the game, it wasn't fast enough. All right, let's go for round 2. I do have a sideboard, but it's like one card, and it's not a card that I particularly want to sideboard into for this, so I should probably add more sideboard cards. We'll see what happens in round two here. Um, I am going to, well, let's see. So I want to probably, this is honestly not bad. Regional Governor for Fallen Lightsaber would be a pretty reasonable play. Um, could also just lead off with the Viper Probe Droid. Okay, so we're gonna resource this. We're gonna resource this Raider, and we're gonna resource the. Let's resource Fifth Brother. He's not very good against Tarkentown. And then, actually, we'll lead off with the Viper Probe Droid. Get to see my opponent's hand, know what's coming, and that'll potentially give me some better options for determining with the regional governor. Wow, crazy hand. That is such an aggro hand. Two stormtroopers, a tie LN, and a shoot first. Man, that is not what I want to see on the first turn at all. We're gonna take the initiative here. Okay, so he splits the arena instead of deploying two troopers. I think that's a bit of an error. And then yeah, let's see how this goes. I know there's another trooper. I know there's a shoot first. So the first thing that I probably want to do is clear off clear off the First Legion, clear off the Death Star Stormtrooper one way or another. I think in this situation, the way that I'm going to do that is going to be with this Death Trooper, which will leave my probe droid on the field. Um, and by clearing off that unit, that will deny my opponent the opportunity to shoot first to get the easy pick off on the probe droid. It will also waste Boba's ability, so Boba has this as a reaction to an enemy unit leaving play. Um, if he doesn't get a chance to kill my probe droid, it won't work. If I just swung into him immediately, that would also work. But Death Trooper, when played, deal 2 damage to a friendly ground unit and 2 damage to an enemy ground unit. Does 2 damage to himself there, as is very often the case with this card, and 2 damage to pick off that trooper, leaving me with a 3-1. Opponent surprise strikes the base for 5. Not what I want to see. I will go ahead and swing into the base for 3. Um, we could see Tarkentown used here to clear the Death Trooper, of course. I'll be using, I'll be probably using Iden's ability to heal this turn. Ooh, with that play, I think it's actually best for me not to do that. I'm just going to take the initiative here. Um, and this way I'm going to have an opportunity to clear this way I'm going to have an opportunity to clear that trooper before my opponent has an attack with him. Okay, hoping to draw an interceptor here. That would be really strong. Have not seen it though. So in this scenario, probably my best bet. This is actually oh man. So I could force choke the trooper. I think what I actually do though is I just trade the probe droid for the trooper. Sure. Trade the probe droid for the trooper and then develop the regional governor. So we're gonna go for that. So lead off with the trade. This will enable a heal. Now, one good thing is I have a major card advantage at this point, and my opponent has already used Tarkentown. But we'll have to see how much that ends up benefiting me. Um, we're going to use Iden's ability here to heal. This is kind of a stalling play. I want to see what my opponent's going to play. I can potentially then force choke. It's going to be a pass from the opponent. So I'm going to play the regional governor, and I'll say Fallen Lightsaber. That was a big problem for me on Boba last game, so we're going to try and block it for this game. Um, and if my opponent doesn't have anything else, I can just take the initiative here, or even if they do, depending on what it is. Fifth brother. Um, so if I, if I, if I force choke immediately, Um, yeah, let's see here. I think what I do in this situation is take the initiative. If I could force choke this turn, but that prevents me from healing, and my opponent can potentially play another card. Okay, so I could play Veers here, but he'll just get killed. Yeah, we're gonna go with, or wait, no, hang on. We gotta hang on to this. My opponent has Boba this turn. Um, my opponent has Boba this turn. We're gonna resource this Count Dooku, even though he's a card that I really want going. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be too slow. So we will lead off, force choke, get that guy off the field. Sure. My opponent does get to draw a card, which I'm not too keen on, but by spacing that out, I do also get to use Iden's ability again for another heal, if insofar as that's worth anything. Ty does 2 damage. Iden's ability used here to recover one of those. Okay, my opponent's going harder in space. Not what I most want to see. Um, let's see here. So if I do, yeah, I'm gonna fall in lightsaber my regional governor. So this makes her strength 4, and if Boba deploys, that will be a hard hit. If my opponent passes, I'm just going to take the initiative and enjoy having Boba miss his deployment. It's arguable that I should have played Veers instead. If I play Veers, I can then use the Fallen Lightsaber on Iden next turn, which would be enough to kill Boba in one shot. But okay, my opponent goes for it, so I'm going to take the swing on Boba. Um, so that's going to be 4 damage to Boba and 4 damage to the governor. And then if my opponent swings here with Boba, he could kill my governor, but that would be a trade. And if not, if he swings for the base, I can just take the initiative, clear Boba on the next turn immediately with the governor, and then hopefully draw some stuff that will allow me to stabilize in space. Opponent ends up taking the initiative. Great, yeah. Boba misses his swing. I'll take it. Draw up here. Ooh, Imperial Interceptor. That's a card I like to see here. And an Entrenched, also a potential space counter. I'm going to probably resource Veers, ready up. And so I think the opponent may well do a shoot first to clear that governor. If we see a shoot first to clear the governor, the problem with that, for my opponent at least, is that Iden can then deploy and defeat Boba while protected by her shield, which would be a pretty positive scenario for me. Additionally, if my opponent doesn't immediately kill the governor can just kill Boba. I could also potentially deploy the Academy Defense Walker, which would be a strong sentinel, and also do some experience boost there for the regional governor. But right now, I'm much more worried about the space arena than the ground arena. So let's see how this goes. No shoot first. Ooh, going to be an open fire to clear the governor. Okay, could be worse. I will deploy Iden. Iden can now defeat Boba in one shot. Boba could, of course, swing and hit my base here, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm hoping that if my opponent had a fallen lightsaber, it's been resourced at this point. Yep. So Boba hits the base. I will. So Iden can now kill Boba, but in order to play this more efficiently, I'm going to first have my Imperial Interceptor clear the tie, and that's a point of healing for me as well. Um, the Defender, of course, can defeat my Interceptor there very easily, but opts to push for the base instead, which makes sense. My opponent's playing aggro. Iden kills Boba, losing her shield, and then gaining another point of healing from an enemy unit being defeated. And we still have the Entrenched and a potential Academy Defense Walker as well. Um, I am behind on life though, and I don't love the situation in space with that defender. That defender is a very annoying card. Greedo hits the field. Under the circumstances, I really have two main options. So the first one would be to immediately take the initiative. The second one would be to use my entrenched. In this situation, I think I want to take the initiative. So there we go. Let's see if my opponent has another card to play. If my opponent has a Force Choke or Open Fire, Iden could just be killed here, which I would really not love. It's going to be an ISB agent with no ping. Okay. I'm happy to see that. Could be a lot worse. I'll draw two. Ooh, another entrenched. So I'm now starting to think that my plan for space may well just be to entrench my opponent's units. Um, I think I can endure. Yeah, I think I can endure another hit. So the question is, do I want a resource here? So I can entrench that Seventh Fleet Defender, and then I could entrench a Fet's Fire Spray if it gets played. And then if I resource the Academy Defense Walker, I'll also have enough to play Veers. I do like the Academy Defense Walker though, so it's possible I should keep it, but I think I want to just develop more units, so I am going to resource it, as crazy as that might seem. So we will lead off. Iden will kill Greedo. If my opponent hits the top deck, Iden will be herself defeated. But it still heals me and removes a unit that's threatening for my opponent. Hopefully, my opponent will see a unit here, miss the Greedo top deck. Yep, another defender, which is extra good because I don't want to see that unit opposing me. Iden getting some big value. 4 for an interceptor killing my interceptor. Don't love it. Entrenched on the defender. Let's just get that guy unable to attack. I'm playing just to keep my base alive here. ISB agent could hit my base for 1, or could attack and defeat Iden, but we'll see what happens. I can still play out Veers, and I still potentially have an entrenched. My opponent having that other interceptor is not something I love to see. Maybe if he has a shoot first, he could kill Iden and keep the ISB agent alive, though the merit of keeping an ISB agent alive is limited. Ooh, a looks like a fallen lightsaber for the ISB agent. That is actually potentially a big problem. But you know what? We're gonna deploy General Veers, and my opponent takes the initiative, so we're just going to go ahead and draw here. Nice, and I have some good unit counters here. Um, we are going to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just gonna stay here. I can now kill that buffed ISB agent with maximum firepower. I could also actually pierce the shield on the defender and kill it with maximum firepower, though I think the entrenched is sufficient at this point. And we're in an interesting spot here. I'm currently a 5/2, and Veer is a 3/3. With my Tarkin Town still not used, if my opponent plays either of the or attacks either of my units here, I can just Tarkin Town and get that ISB agent off the field, fallen lightsaber or no. Okay, it's a swing from the interceptor. I will max firepower to kill the ISB agent with the damage from Iden and Veers, healing my base for 1 with Iden's ability. I do still have an entrenched waiting if my opponent plays Fet's Fire Spray. I'll also be able to do some nice damage to the enemy base myself. And opponent passes. I will swing in with Veers, 3 damage to the base. Swing in with Iden, 5 damage to the base. If my opponent passes again, it's just going to be initiative taken for me. I'd be happy to keep this as the board state. I think it's possible my opponent's trying to slow roll if that's a fire spray. Oh, just passes. Yep, initiative taken. So yeah, I don't think I want to. I guess I resource this tie advanced because it's very well. So if I play the tie advanced, it could buff me in the ground arena. I already have enough resources to just to have the vanquished and entrenched. I guess I'm going to keep the tie advanced just in case, because I don't value resourcing that much at this point. So right now I am winning the race. My opponent is my opponent does have some potential gas with the Imperial Interceptor. I still haven't drawn a really good removal card for the Interceptor. So what I think I'm gonna do is just the question is it worth killing it? And I think I'm gonna just push damage right now. So Iden's gonna swing in, that's another 5. Does look like the opponent's maybe gonna play something. Nope, Interceptor swings in. Veers will swing in. At this point, I could tie advanced Iden and then have lethal. So it's going to be Boba Disintegrator on the field. I'm not so worried about Boba Disintegrator at this point. I'm at 9 life, so I am not in range of a. Yeah, at 9 life, I am not in range of a. Uh, of a what's it called? A immediate loss from. I'm not in range of an immediate loss from a Fet's Fire Spray. So the question is, if I think I want to set up my potential win, so we're gonna tie advanced buff Iden. So now Iden is at total strength 7, and is also out of range of Boba Disintegrator if there's no buff because she has the +1 from Veers. So if my opponent doesn't somehow like kill or control Iden at this phase, I can take the initiative and win on the first attack. But it is very possible that my opponent playing cunning will have some kind of answer, with 3 resources left. I still have an entrenched of my own that I can potentially use to counter an enemy unit in space. My okay, opponent takes the initiative, so now we're going to go to this next turn. I don't think there's anything I want to do here. My opponent didn't take the kill with the defender, so that means that, ooh, and there's a Ruthless Raider. This is a very solid card to have here. I guess I resource one of these vanquishes. Okay, so if my opponent doesn't immediately control Iden, I attack the base and win the game. So the first play is going to have to be control on Iden. Or killing Iden, quite frankly. At which point I can then use my tie advanced to clear the interceptor. Oh, you know what? Actually, I can just okay. So my opponent uses a shoot first to kill Iden. That's fine. I'm not too worried about that. Um, so Iden, Iden's off the board, but I can actually, I think I can win this turn if my opponent doesn't have removal for Veers. Oh yeah, I actually have a really good path to victory. So base, and then if my opponent doesn't control Veers, I win. And if my opponent does control Veers, I still win. Yep, and there's the open fire to kill Veers. But I have the Ruthless Raider, which will hit the base for 2, and that's game. So 1 played or 1 defeated, deal 2 damage to enemy base and 2 damage to an enemy unit. So that one was a win for Iden. 1 and 1. I'm going to sideboard a card in. It's nothing too dramatic. It's just the third. This is just the third copy of Imperial Interceptor. I'm at 2 copies main deck because it's kind of a bad card against people who don't have a bunch of fighters. But with the space aggro options that my opponent has there, the Interceptor seems quite relevant. And then the question is, what am I going to drop for that? I think I'll drop a fifth brother. Not very good against Tarkin Town. I didn't use my own Tarkin Town that game, believe it or not. All right, so Iden was able to hold back Boba's aggro that game, stabilize the situation, and win the game. We're gonna see what happens with game two. Can I pull off the same feat? This is immediately looking like it's not great, but it's not garbage. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep this hand. I'm gonna resource these expensive units. So I can lead off with the Scout Bike Pursuer. The Scout Bike Pursuer does well against the early units that my opponent is using. And if my opponent then uses Tarkin Town to clear the Scout Bike Pursuer, I can then follow up with Fifth Brother, having him be safe from Tarkin Town. Opponent leads with Greedo. I'll lead with the Scout Bike Pursuer. So Greedo, one cost 3/1. When defeated, you may discard a card from your deck. If it's not a unit, deal 2 damage to a ground unit. ISB Agent. Um, ISB Agent paying this guy for 1. I'm going to take the initiative. This is probably where my opponent uses Tarkin Town to just clear this guy off immediately, but could be worse given that I have the Fifth Brother follow up. And if my opponent doesn't use Tarkin Town, then I get to kill Greedo. So yep, Tarkin Town used. Scout Bike Trooper is gone. But now the stage is set for a Fifth Brother to hit the field without my opponent having that counter. Now, of course, ooh, you know what we're gonna do? Uh, It's a really tough call. So I could also Death Trooper Greedo. Death Trooper and Greedo gets around a potential. Yeah, no, we're gonna go with the Death Trooper option instead of the Fifth Brother here. Fifth Brother is like higher reward, but the Death Trooper is going to be more reliably getting Greedo off the field. So here we go. Death Trooper kills Greedo. There is, of course, the chance that he hits his top deck and gets this Death Trooper gone, but he no longer has Fifth Brother to or no longer has Talking Town to get the to kill the Death Trooper for free. Um, I think my opponent forgot Greedo's ability, so if we were playing like in a tournament, I might not remind them. That would be a missed trigger. But maybe he's opting not to use it. Okay, yeah, I guess he just decides not to use it. I guess maybe he has another ISB agent to ping me for sure. That seems pretty plausible. No, it's a shoot first with the ISB agent. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll if that's how he wants to do it, I'll just take the initiative. I think that's pretty not worth it. Um, I'm happy to see that exchange, and the fact that he saw that he had the shoot first makes me happy that I didn't go with the Fifth Brother play in that case. Okay, so then we see a seventh fleet defender hit the board. That is something I'm going to have to deal with eventually. But now I'm probably going to. Ooh, yeah, I think I'm just going to play Fifth Brother this turn. um, yeah, so I think it was a really odd move not to use Greedo's ability because he has a chance to just clear my unit immediately, and if he does, he saves the shoot first, which I think is dubious to play in that scenario. In any case, I think keeping an ISB agent on board isn't very important. But we'll see. I'll deploy Fifth Brother. Maybe he has an attack. Maybe he's gonna give a fallen lightsaber to the ISB agent or something. Maybe that's his game. Okay, so that's gonna be a hit on my base for 3, and I am gonna be boring and just take the initiative. Hit for 1. Okay. Death Star Trooper. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a good setup for Fifth Brother to get a 2 for 1. So I will happily. Ooh, and I have an Imperial Interceptor that's going to be able to cause some trouble, maybe cause some trouble for my opponent in the space arena, or at least get that more contested. Okay, so what we're going to do is Fifth Brother here. Um, I'm going to do 1 damage to him, 1 damage there, and then use the actual attack to kill the ISB agent. So that's going to be a 2 for 1. Um, Taking another point of damage, but that actually makes his potential future attack even stronger. Um, Opponent sends in the Seventh Fleet Defender here. So I have 2 main options. I think what we're going to do is Viper Probe Droid. See my opponent's hand. So we have a Forced Choke. That is very good to know. Now I know that I can't play that Fallen Lightsaber. and another one of those little ships. Ooh, my opponent, yeah, so my opponent does that. So now we're going to use Iden's ability for a heal, and opponent will deploy Boba. I know that I can't fall in Lightsaber Fifth Brother because he'll just get force choked, so I'm not going to do that. And instead, we are going to take the initiative. Boba swings in for 4. So right now I'm feeling okay, but not amazing about this. If my opponent doesn't use the force choke, Fifth Brother can actually do a lot of damage with his own attacks. I think my opponent might have to play the force choke anyway, and my plan is going to become Iden Fallen Lightsaber. Opponent doesn't go for it. Okay. If I draw a Snow Trooper Lieutenant, Fifth Brother can defeat. Ooh, and I do. So Fifth Brother gets to defeat Boba in one shot. That's the payoff for me for my opponent not having used that force choke. So Snow Trooper Lieutenant trades. So I kind of shortcutted that, but the reason that both of them die is because I would be swinging for 4. This makes it 6, but I ping myself for 1 and ping him for 1, and that ends up being lethal. So Boba off the board. Opponent hits my base for 3. Now I am a little worried about what's going on in the space arena, so we're going to try and get that stabilized as soon as possible. We will Imperial Interceptor ping off the shield from that defender. Of course, my opponent can keep pushing damage to my base here. I will use Iden to heal 1. I'm really hoping that we don't see Fett's Fire Spray here. Fett's Fire Spray would be catastrophic. Ooh, and it's Fett's Fire Spray. That's probably game over. I have gained control. I've basically gained control of the board, or am gaining control of the board, but Fett's Fire Spray is going to do too much damage. I will deploy Iden here. So then Fett's Fire Spray hits me for 5. I am going to take the initiative and don't draw an answer, so that's going to be game, unfortunately. So once again, a game where the opponent ended up being able to get the win. It's not over yet, we'll have to see. But I have definite control of the ground arena at this point, but am not going to be able to get that Fett's Fire Spray out of here in time. I could Snow Trooper so okay, so we can do this. So I can Ruthless Raider, kill that defender, and 2 damage to the enemy base, and I heal 1. That means Fett's Fire Spray doesn't kill me in 1 attack, but the problem is that defender isn't going to be removed. So it's really game over at this point. I think if my opponent had not had Fett's Fire Spray on that last turn, that would very possibly be a game win for me. But as it stands, the extra aggro from that aggressive ship is going to be just what my opponent needed to close things out. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. So those were some games with Iden Versio. So my initial thoughts are actually I don't think this leader is that bad. Like people have been very negative on her, but I don't think she's that bad. Yeah, and my opponent had various cards that could maybe fight for the ground arena. But I think I still have a strong advantage in that area. The real issue was the Fett's Fire Spray. Fett's Fire Spray is a great card. I think it's going to be one of the more. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting cards to see where it ends up value wise. It is only rare, which means it's probably not going to be worth a large amount of money, and it's also much worse in any deck other than Boba Fett. But for Boba Fett, it's fantastic. One of the best cards in the game, and really propelled my opponent to victory here. So yeah. One other thing that I think about this game is I did resource I resourced a maximum firepower early in the game. So it's arguable that I should have kept this because maximum firepower has a good utility against not only could it have killed Fett's Fire Spray in this situation, but it also has big utility against the smaller enemy ships, because if you have 2 different units, the first one can ping off the shield from the 7th Fleet Defender, and then the second hit can get the kill. So if I had kept this maximum firepower, I might have been in a better spot as well. Ultimately, was a loss, but I felt like this was respectable. Ended up going 1 and 2 in both of the losses. regaining control of I was gaining control of the board or regaining it or whatever you want to call it, but the opponent had a little bit too much aggro for me. Um, and I think also as I mess with this some more, add some sideboard stuff, figure out some stuff there, we could potentially see this turning into quite a cool deck. So I don't know. I was pretty negative on Iden when I first saw her, but I do think having that shielded leader and having all the healing, I think it has some potential. We'll have to see. But I personally am, at least right now, more excited about playing Iden than Krennic, which is the other vigilant villainy leader. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that pans out. But those are some Iden Versio games, and I might have some more content with this leader later on. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.